Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we have another shop talk video, and we're going to be talking about rip-off shops in this video. And before we go ahead and begin, guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below and definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. This topic for this shop talk video, guys, is something that actually just happened to me. It's been basically since yesterday, and the scenario is that a customer walked into my shop. I'd never seen them before, and this is the first time that I've ever seen this vehicle here. So it's a new customer, and he told me that, hey, I have this car, it's been making a front end noise, I want to get it checked out, can you guys do a suspension check? And I was like, I'm a little busy at the moment, drop it off, give me a couple hours, and we'll be more than happy to look at it. So he proceeds to do that, and I get the car into the shop a little while later and lift the car up, and I'm looking at the front end to see what the noise is, and I verify that the front lower ball joints on both sides, front left and front right, are basically making noise. You can feel the movement, and they're clicking and clacking. They're pretty loose. And I also noticed while I was underneath there that the car had a lot of suspension parts that were pretty new. It had new struts on both sides. It had one stabilizer link replaced and still had the old one on the other side, which makes no sense to me because this car also had new stabilizer bar bushings. So they had to remove both stabilizers. It wouldn't make any sense why they wouldn't replace both of them. And I figured, okay, maybe the customer did this maybe a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and now, they're developing this issue because the shocks are a little stronger and probably wore out the ball joints a little bit more, and maybe they were saving money, just reused the old stabilizer link on one side. It also had newer tie rods and a few other components, which, again, I thought it was kind of weird. It just kind of looked like someone was rebuilding the whole suspension, but they neglected to replace these arms or neglected to diagnose it correctly. Now, I didn't have any info on the vehicle. The customer just said it's making a noise, I need an inspection. So I proceed to call him, figured it out, got a quote ready for him, and call him, and I tell him, like, hey, so you need lower control arms. Your ball joints are basically gone. They're really bad, and they're sold as an assembly. The whole arms have to be replaced. And he's like, are you sure that that is the noise? I'm like, yes, I am very sure that it is the noise, because right now that's the most movement that I'm getting out of anything. I'm like, to be quite honest with you, it looks like someone spent a lot of money on this thing. You have a lot of new parts. And over the phone, now I wasn't face to face with him, but he kind of made a gesture with his voice like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, you have new struts, new tie rods, new link on this side, and bushings. And then he's like, oh, yeah. So kind of a quick switcheroo there. I guess he didn't trust me, or I don't know what the whole point of attempting to lie on that was, or kind of putting shade towards it. But after I pointed out everything, he's like, oh, yeah, so here's the thing. He's like, I took it to a mechanic about a week or two ago. They recommended doing all this work. We did everything, and not even like an hour later after we picked it up, we're still hearing the noise when we took it on the road for a drive. And I was like, okay, well, I'm like, I don't know who this mechanic is. Unfortunately, this is the issue with it. I was like, if you'd like, I can get him replaced, get everything going good, and then I'll recheck the suspension afterwards and make sure we're not missing anything. But everything else was brand new. What else could be missed? Pretty much everything was done except for that one link. And then I even talked to him a little further, and I told him, I was like, hey, did you option to only replace one stabilizer link? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, it was supposed to be struts and this and that and two links. And I was like, well, you only got one. So apparently they screwed up. So that previous shop did what they did. They basically told the customer that they needed to replace all these parts, and that what the problem was. They pretty much did it all, and I guess towards the end, they must have known, or they figured out that the lower control arms were making the noise from the ball joints. And at that point in time, the customer had put so much money in the car with them that I guess maybe the customer felt a certain way or didn't trust them, and he just decided to say, hey, you know what, just stop and I'll pay you for whatever work you've done, and I'm going to pick up my car. Or he was oblivious to the fact, which I think is probably more than likely the case, because he did tell me over the phone that they told him he needed all the stuff, he picked it up, and then an hour later he was hearing the noise. So I don't even think they gave him an option. They just said, hey, replace all this stuff and it's your noise, and he picks it up and he still has the issue. So I told him, I was like, well, let's do the control arms if you want, here's the price, I'll get them done. He's like, okay, go ahead, get it done. Get the control arms done, I take the car for a test drive, no more noise, everything is beautiful. And I call him up and I tell him, hey, you can come pick up the car. So he comes here in person, he picks it up, and he pays me for it. And we just struck up a little bit of a conversation, and I was like, hey, so whatever shop you took it to, I'm pretty sure they're local to me in the area. They're probably a competitor. I don't want to badmouth anyone, but I'm like, whoever worked on this would have to be, I mean, pardon the French here, I'm like either really stupid or they just didn't care and they're just, you know, selling whatever they can sell. And he's like, to be honest with you, he's like, I think it's the same thing. He's like, I think I got ripped off. He's like, because I spent a lot of money, which I could clearly tell he put a lot of money into this thing, struts and all that work, for it to, you know, be oblivious to them that the ball joint was loose. I mean, these ball joints were moving really good, guys. It's not like you needed a pry bar to get it to move. Just grab the tire up and down, and you can clearly hear it and feel it going click, 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 click. So, you know, apparently from what he said, it just felt like they were just ripping them off, just recommending stuff without even looking at it. And that's the whole point of this video, guys. There are going to be a lot of shops out there that will do this sort of stuff, and I run into this every now and then. It's actually quite more apparent than anything else. And with this particular situation, I told that customer, like, hey, I would go back to that shop and talk to them and see maybe get some money back or something. Now, I know the likelihood of that happening is really low because once the work is done. But as a shop, they got to have some sort of liability or responsibility when they make the wrong call on the diagnostic. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, guys. I've made the wrong call here and there in my whole, you know, lifetime of being a mechanic. I've never gotten everything 100% all the time, but when I'm in the wrong, I try to at least mediate it and get it, you know, corrected in a way that I can. So I guess, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with that portion of it, but it just goes to show you, and the whole point of me even describing this scenario, making this video, is that if you're in a situation like this, the best thing to do would be to call that shop up and try to mediate and see what's happening. Now, I can't blame the customer for not going back there or even wanting to deal with them, because once you get put through that type of situation, if the shop refuses to give you your money back or work with you or do anything, I mean, you're pretty much, you know, left stranded. There's nothing you can do. You can try to sue them, but, you know, again, that's a whole other video for a whole other topic. It just doesn't work that well, you know, in the long run of things. You're going to wind up blowing more money than it's probably worth. But they should be accountable and they should hold some liability. But the customer told me that towards the end, before he left, that, you know, more than likely he's just going to leave it alone, which to me is kind of unfortunate, because if I was in that situation, I'd call him up and I'd have a field day with him, be like, hey, what's going on? Like, I paid for this and this and my car's still making noise. But at the end of the day, what can you do? So just watch out for shops that do this, guys. I always tell people, if you're going to a new shop and you've never dealt with them before, or you have a slight suspicion they may not be correct with you, go ahead and take your car and pull it out. Or if you are going to do the work and you okay the work for them, you know, just make sure that before you pay, you tell them, hey, can we go on a test drive? I just want to verify and make sure. So that way you at least hold some sort of liability with it. And most of them should not feel a certain way. I have customers that after I do some work on their vehicles, let's say it was like a wheel bearing noise, which is the most recent thing. I had a vehicle where the lady brought me the car. She heard this horrible noise, which was horrible for her, but I hear wheel bearing noises all day, every day. I know what they sound like. They can sound a lot worse than they are. So I told her what it was. She was believing me in a way, but also in disbelief that something that small could make that big of a noise. So to reassure her, I told her, listen, let me do the wheel bearing. This is what it would cost if you're okay with it. And then before you pay for it, before you pick it up, I'll take you for a test drive with the car and you'll see the difference. And that's what we did. I did the work. She comes in. I tell her, all right, let's get in the car. Went around the block really quick. She heard that the car was nice and quiet. She's like, wow, I can't believe it. I got paid. She got her car. Everyone's happy. If the customer had told me that, I'm not going to feel a certain bad way about it. I'd be like, hey, come on, okay, I'll back up my work. I'm going to verify it before you even pay for it. That's not a problem. And that's the attitude most shops should have. They should never take you questioning something as, you know, like, why are you asking us this? Like, we know this, we're supreme and blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't have that sort of altercation. Even though it doesn't sit well, if I did, let's say, some work on a car and a customer's questioning me about it, at the end of the day, as long as those questions are logical and they're not, I guess you can say, idiotic or repetitive, then I'm going to answer and I'm going to be respectful. If a customer brought in the car and said, how can the wheel bearing make that big of a noise? I'll take a minute or two to explain it. But if they keep badgering me saying that, I don't think that that should be it. I don't see how that's possible. Can you please draw me a diagram, or can you show me a video on there? Then I'm gonna be like, okay, we're a little bit past this. Like, that's badgering me at that point. But for the most part, it shouldn't be an issue. So just a couple little tips and things if you guys are in a scenario like this. What I always tell people is, if you're uncomfortable or you feel like they may not be doing the work correctly, before you pay for your vehicle, ask them to verify the repair, which most credible shops shouldn't have a problem doing if they are doing good, honest work. So with that said, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel grow. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.